You're looking for some interesting value stocks to consider? Well, you've come to the right place because our value stock strategist, Tracey Ryniec, is here with me. She's brought a couple with her to discuss. Yep. Tyson Foods, TSN, big food processor, been around forever.
Yeah, most people know of them, especially on the chicken side. I always think of them as chicken, but they right. cover all the areas. They have pork and beef and everything. Mm-hmm. They're one of the largest in the world. This has been kind of an interesting story because for a while they were down on their luck. All the food processors were. But in the last year or so, they've kind of gotten out of that rut and have seen very good earnings growth. And that's mainly because demand is both increasing. Globally, people are eating more of these meat products.
Right.
And then
chicken is what you're saying.
Well, yeah. And then also they've had pricing power. There's been an increase in chicken prices, especially on the wing side, but across that whole spectrum.
Right.
So Tyson's, it's a pretty good story. Like I said, they're supposed to report the day after we were taping this, actually, on January 31st.
Okay.
So it's we're getting a little bit ahead.
Right now,
yeah. And I put up the chart of their earnings surprises. They have surprised the last two quarters. The investors don't seem to care if they surprise or don't surprise because I do think they think this is a good story. It's really about the guidance with them. What are they seeing about, prices and demand? So that'll be key to watch with them. Mm-hmm. As far as chart goes, it's been kind of iffy. Like sometimes you get things going on in China with the bird flu or these other things, mm-hmm. and investors get a little nervous. And then there's not a lot of news out about them in the middle of the quarter, although they did just buy a pizza company. I was kind of surprised to see that.
I saw you said that, yeah.
Yeah, and I actually had to look it up. It's Bosco Pizza in Michigan. They only have 150 employees, but they make these pizza wraps that are frozen, and then you stick it in the oven, and then you can just eat it by hand. Mm. They're getting more into these prepared foods areas.
Doesn't sound like something I'd be running out for.
I don't know. It looked intriguing to me, but I've never seen it. So, I think we can expect to see that more maybe in our local supermarkets. But they're going more into these prepared foods, too, which is also an interesting strategy and something to watch out for on the earnings report, too. They're only trading around 12.5 times. They're pretty cheap, even though you can see the shares have resumed their upward trajectory. So it's a good value stock here, and it's a good story.
Well, as business becomes tougher and tougher, even for large companies like this, opening up other cash streams for themselves
that's
is,
right.
Probably part of the key to success.
Exactly.
Another thing, I don't know if you've looked at it yet, it just came out on the 29th. The U.S. House proposed a new farm bill.
The farm bill, that's right.
So it's going to be interesting to see what that means once it gets passed,
right.
if it gets passed, to companies like Tyson who process a multitude of foods.
That's right. And the chicken has to eat, and the cows and
farm,
everybody has to eat everything.
Right.
So yes, all these factors go into play with them and their cost structure and all of that. So yes, it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
All right. Well, in another segment of business, home building, you have flagged D.R. Horton here.
Yeah, they actually just reported, so we're getting on the other side of them. And it was a great quarter. The home builders, they definitely still have momentum. 2012 was a big year for all of them. Everybody suddenly was buying the home builders, and it didn't matter which ones you bought, they went straight up. 2013 was a little bit different, even though their business model kept improving throughout the year. Mm-hmm. Investors got real nervous last year in the middle of the summer when the mortgage rates went up.
Yes.
And so these stocks got kind of hammered, but that's why it's a value. And they had a great report. They said they saw revenue up double digits. The backlog, which is always real important with the home builders, was up 20%. Their actual under contract backlog was up 5%. They were able to raise prices 10%, which some people might say is a bad thing. Depends on your point of view. They're averaging a little bit under $300,000 on their average home price. So they're not in the Toll Brothers luxury side, but that is one area that people are concerned about is how much longer can they keep pushing up these prices. But double-digit earnings growth expected for this year again and for next year. You got to watch the mortgage rates because that's going to be key. But for now, from what they just said on their conference call, they're not seeing a real pullback from the consumer. The consumer wants to buy new. They want, the shiny new house, and they've been waiting for years now after the recession. Some of them are feeling better about their job and the economy in general. And so with the rates not soaring, they are going out there to buy. You can see the chart, and it does reflect what I said about, the shares selling off big when the mortgage rates went up. But that makes it a kind of a real attractive play here. It's trading around 13.5 times. That's cheap compared to the overall market. They're the largest home builders. They're saying good things, and this is good for the economy. So I do like the home builders. You have to have a strong stomach to own them, though, because as you can see from that chart, I mean, it's kind of a wild ride. But if you have kind of a longer-term horizon, it's a good play here, too.
Am I hearing then that you still think there's some life in the housing market?
Well, I do. I was real bearish towards the end of last year because the mortgage rates did go up, and then you had prices rising and mortgage rates going up. That's not a good combination.
Right.
But the consumer is hanging in there for right now, and the inventory is still low. I mean, despite the, you can see from their backlog that, the demand is there. They are controlling inventories really well. I have to hand it to the home builders. They're not overbuilding, not yet. And so that's what's able to keep them able to increase the prices because there's still not enough supply in a lot of areas. So
Okay. We'll have to see how it plays out.
Yep.
Meantime, do you own either of these?
I do not, but the value investor does own Tyson Foods.
All right, and that's the one that you watch over.
Yep.
All righty. If you would like to take a look at any other stock picks or stock picking strategies, by all means, get on over to Zacks.com. That's our website. And you can link to them right off the homepage if you're watching this video out in syndication land. With Tracey, I'm Terry Ruffalo.